Well, it's been a very volatile day for the market today in a range, but what clearly stands out today is that you have Nifty, which has outperformed both the Bank Nifty and the mid-cap index, and the sole reason for that is Infosys. In fact, that stock is up about 6.5%, fresh all-time high. So there's one stock which is really leading the Nifty, but for the broader market and for the Bank Nifty, there's been some bit of a problem today. Let's see what the last hour brings for us. This is Closing Bell. I'm Anuj, and with me is Surabhi. Hi, Surabhi. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Anuj. You said it, and I mean, that's what I was looking at as well, because almost every single big bank stock worth its salt has been on the way down today. And that's been a consistent trend almost from morning. I mean, your SBI, HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, even Indusind. I remember we were discussing this, number seemed okay, but the follow-through buying hasn't come in. What do you make of the overall market texture and this very deep underperformance by banks today?
I think Indusind clearly is not surprising because, like we discussed in the morning as well, the devil is in the detail, and the stock had run up. Everyone thought that last quarter's template will be repeated, but that's because in last quarter everyone was short on Indusind Bank. It's had a rally from 1350 to about 1520 thereabout, and look, there's still some issues. Indusind Bank is no longer the kind of stock that it was. There was a time when Indusind Bank, you would want to buy on every dip. That's no longer the case. I think the selling on banks, 30,500 is a very important mark. You've broken that, but it's not that the market's collapsed on that. It's not as if the Bank Nifty has collapsed. In fact, the market today has given you swings. This is a market about swings. This is a day trader's market. This is not an investor's market, because the problem is every 1 week or 10 days down the line, stocks come back to same levels. You would notice it with most stocks. So it's essentially a trader's market, and in that, not the kind of trending market that it was. It's the market which is giving you 50-60 points at one time. You have to take it. As simple as that. I think this is the kind of market where you don't want to extrapolate even hour to hour move. You get a nice risk reward trade setup, you take it, you move on to next trade. That's how it is. For right or wrong, that's the only trade which is left. Yes, but the reaction on Indusind is telling you that the market is slightly disappointed with perhaps the fine print of the earnings. Let's put it that way.
Well, the one stock where the market definitely doesn't seem to be disappointed is Infosys. I mean, 6-7% up, fresh 52-week highs for that stock. But again, I'm wondering, the point you just made, whether you can extrapolate the move on, not on the market, but on a stock like Infosys at all.
What happened with Infosys, where it also helped, I have no doubt in my mind that if Infosys had come out with numbers, say, before TCS, and if TCS had not put the expectations so low, in that case, would we still have had a 7% rally in Infosys? Perhaps not. But because TCS sort of vitiated the environment so much that anything good was lapped up. And I'll tell you one more thing. Infosys, this has become a bit of a habit with Infosys now. Every alternate quarter, I think it's trapping people on the wrong side. I mean, that's the stock that is. If you see, on long and short side. So the margin profile and the overall earnings quality does suggest that perhaps Infosys now needs to sort of bridge that gap between itself and TCS. But we have heard that story for long. For that to happen, you need 3 or 4 consistent quarters. Having said that, one thing which is clear now is that between now and up until next quarter, perhaps Infosys will keep getting a bit re-rated on the upside. And Infosys now has got a bit of a range. On the downside, it's protected at around 730, 740. On the upside, perhaps a move towards 800. Obviously not in the near future, but at some point is not ruled out.
Well, as of now, the market's absolutely saluting what it saw on those numbers, including the upward revision in the guidance. Let's get started. Here's what's lined up on Closing Bell today. The market has been volatile, with broader indices underperforming the frontliners. Infosys hits a fresh lifetime high post the first quarter numbers, almost single-handedly keeping the Nifty in the green. We're going to be discussing a lot of these key trends with the fundamental experts, SP Tulsian of sptulsian.com, Devin Choksi of KR Choksi, and Mayuresh Joshi of Angel Broking. Now, the market has been struggling to shake off post-budget blues. How should investors look at positioning themselves, and what are the medium-term technicals telling us? We get in Jay Bala of cashthechaos.com on a technical outlook for the market. He also gives us a couple of stock ideas. And as we just were discussing, this whole Infosys versus TCS debate, where will the money now really move? We get chatting with a sector specialist. We have Urmil Shah of IDBI Capital to join in to weigh in on that question. And as always, technical trading ideas for the last hour of trade coming up with Ashwini Gujral and Mitesh Thakkar.
Okay, by the way, just look at Bajaj Finance's intraday chart. This is interesting because, just about an hour back, it looked like perhaps there was some selling pressure at higher level. But after absorbing that, it's just moved one way and now up about 2%. So that's Bajaj Finance looking quite interesting. The other stock, which is making a bit of a move, is now Wipro ahead of its numbers. So that's also looking quite interesting. And of course, in the broader market, the stock of the day today has been Piramal Enterprises. That stock still up about 5%. Of course, Infosys still your overall stock of the day, 6.5% higher on that stock. How should you position yourself in this for last hour of trade? We have Ashwini and Mitesh joining us with closing strategies. Good afternoon, Ashwini. That kind of day where both sides of trades have worked. What next for the last hour? Is there a call on the index, and what would be your stock calls?
Well, I don't think last hour or first hour is now mattering, because you had a gap up that got sold into, then from lower levels the market started rallying back, and almost now at early morning levels. So you have to wait for things to get overbought or oversold and then take the other side from here. I don't think today there is anything conclusive. So basically a bit of short covering for Bank Nifty, and IT index still continue to power ahead. I don't think there is a great index trade right now. It is broadly range of 11,500 from where we got support, and 11,600 where we got resistance. Having said that, Oro Pharma is a sell with a stop of 576, target of 560. Escorts is a sell with a stop of 531, target of 515. And Indigo is a buy with a stop of 1370, target of 1410.
Okay, interesting. Two sells and buying into the recent weakness on Indigo. Those are trades the last hour from Ashwini. Good afternoon, Mitesh. What do you make of the day? What's the advice? Any index trades? And of course, what about stock ideas?
Yeah. Good afternoon. So I think, the index I still believe will remain choppy and mostly range bound with 11,650 or thereabouts being the upper end of the range, and we still maintain that shorting would be a better idea around those levels. But been trading with stock specific ideas, given the fact that short term or immediate term is more of sideways without any kind of clear trend, so stock specific trades can be taken. Two calls which I have are a buy on ACC with a stop at 1578 for targets of 1630, and the Bharti is a sell with a stop at 354 for targets of 342.
Okay, Bharti is a sell. Very volatile market, by the way. Just looking at some more names where there's quite a bit of move happening. Look at Yes Bank's intraday chart. That really is a very weak stock. Now in the morning there was some sort of rally on some news reports, but that's been sold into and now down about 1% on that stock. The other stock which has moved to the low point of the day is ITC. Just look at that stock, down about 1.5% right now. So that's ITC for you, approaching 270. SP Tulsian of sptulsian.com and Devin Choksi of KR Choksi now join us. Good afternoon, Mr. Tulsian. We'll discuss Infosys later. I first wanted your thoughts on Indusind Bank, down 2%. Your thoughts?
See, on Friday we have discussed that after these results, generally we see the stock getting corrected, maybe for a couple of days. But it is difficult to say whether this weakness will continue till tomorrow. But we have initiated a buy call because if you broadly see, I don't think that you have any kind of disappointment seen on the numbers. One may have some of the dissatisfaction on some of the points. But if you take the overall call, and more especially after the merger of the Bharat Financials having gone through, which will be giving them the good advantage of the cheaper money, available with the new accounts getting opened, that will really be giving them good this one. Obviously, the Bharat Financial merger has the higher NIM, and that will also be seen overall positive for them, and all the negatives are seen to be behind. I don't think that you may have a risk of falling by about 30, 40, 50 rupees from here. 1450 can be seen, but again on the upper side I think you have the chances of seeing the price of 1600 as well in the next couple of months. So taking this into consideration and after analyzing Q1 numbers post merger of Bharat Financials, we are in fact initiating a buy call. In fact, maybe cautious investors can wait for a fall of 15-20 rupees, but I don't know whether that will be seen or not, because if you see, all the banking stocks are seen getting corrected now because they have seemed to be ruling quite expensive, whether you talk of RBL, HDFC Bank or ICICI Bank, but this stock has seen to be having more of the technical nature correction after Q1 results are seen to be out. So no fundamental weakness or no fundamental over valuation is seen in the stock. So yes, taking that also into consideration, we are initiating a buy call at 1480 or so on the Indusind Bank.
Okay, that's a positive view coming in on Indusind Bank from Mr. Tulsi, and Deven Choksi is with us this afternoon on the show as well. Good afternoon, Deven. Always a pleasure to speak to you, and there are plenty of stocks to discuss. I first want to start off with another big index mover of the day, and that is Sun Pharma. Now, this is a move that's been building actually from last week. Today, there's, of course, a foreign brokerage upgrade coming in. Morgan Stanley sounding very bullish on their US business. Now, do you concur with some of these optimistic views? Is there reason to buy Sun Pharma just because the stock has fallen so much in the last 1 year?
Yep. Good afternoon, Surabhi. Yes, I think the valuation wise, if you look at the current valuation as well as I think valuation going forward next 2 years, I would think that I think somewhere around 14-15 times forward price earning ratio for companies like Sun Pharma, the downside is priced in. That is one important point. The other part is the complex generics, specialty products, as we want to call them as. I think they are basically, I think some of the large companies like Sun Pharma, Cipla, they are typically rising on the expectations to launch this particular in the markets. So that is once again suggesting that they would be in a position to beat the profit margin pressure by launching some of the specialty products, I think, into the global markets, including US. So given the fact that I think valuations have corrected, given the fact that I think the overhanging issues pertaining to Halol plant, etc., is now behind them, probably I think one can look at this kind of company a little bit more optimistically than otherwise. Maybe I think I would not suggest that in next 1 or 2 quarters I think you should see a complete turnaround in the result, but my reading says that I think if you have taken a view of about a year or so, probably I think here and beyond would probably see the better numbers coming in from companies like Sun Pharma among other pharma companies. So certainly would like to say that yes, I think the worst probably seems to have been priced in, unless I think result reveals something else, but otherwise I think it should be seen as an opportunity to buy at lower levels.
Okay, opportunity to buy at lower level. Deven, hi, good afternoon. I wanted your thoughts on RBL Bank, 5.5% down. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, good afternoon, Anuj. Unfortunately, we don't track this company, Anuj, so won't be able to give specific view on this company.
Okay, Mr. Wilson, your thoughts? Very strange looking chart today. I mean, it was very strong on Friday. Today, there's quite a bit of selling.
That's right, and in fact, looking to the growth which the bank has really posted, I don't think that this kind of correction is warranted. And more especially when you have all the high hopes on the Q1 numbers going forward. So maybe yes, some selling ahead of the numbers, or maybe the need-based selling must have come of some large investors. But this seems to be really very attractive. In fact, in this corrections of the banks and financials, probably 2 banks are seen to have come to an attractive level. That is, one is ICICI Bank and second is RBL Bank. Obviously, Indusind Bank a while back I've alluded that what are the reasons for the results and technical factor, but these 3 banks really qualify good buy now at the current level.
Speaking of banks, today is a very weak day for all the PSUs. Of course, there's Allahabad Bank where there is news, there's the spillover effect of the Bhushan fraud. But overall, even look at the others, Union Bank, Canara, OBC, BOB, the entire gamut, all PSU banks in the red today. Deven, before we take the break, just your thoughts. I mean, this whole 70,000 recap amount, that clearly didn't even start a second wave of rally. It's just been sell-on news right from budget day onwards on PSU banks. What are you advising here?
On the valuation wise, some of the larger banks like SBI, BOB, they are quite comfortable. I think probably whatever the negatives are, I think they have been priced into this valuation, as my viewpoint is. Second, clearly reflecting that the rate of interest coming down, in such situation, I think the treasury portfolio gain, I think, would be reflected into the coming quarters, profit and loss account. So from that particular point of view too, I would think that I think the downside and the profit also is over. Not seeing, I think, too much of a non-performing asset related provisioning coming in, save except I think in couple of accounts in both these banks. So in a way, I would think that if the worst is over, valuations are attractive. Some of the larger PSBs are definitely remaining a little bit more convincing than the mid-size and the smaller PSBs. So from that perspective too, I find that I think the selective buying could possibly take place in these counters. Maybe you can call it contra buying into these counters could take place in the days to come.
Okay, all right. On that note, let's take a very quick break. The Nifty is up about 30 odd points. We'll come back on the other side and also get you a technical viewpoint, medium-term technicals with Jay Bala of Cash the Chaos coming up.